Alright guys, so this is going to be a quick introduction on night vision basics. I'm going to kind of go over some equipment you need, different things to do when you get your night vision, how to store it, and tips and tricks for using them, focusing them, things like that. So today I'm going to be focusing on the PVS 14. That's what all my experience is with, and that's what most people just getting into night vision are probably going to be looking for. So before I get into specs and all sorts of things to look at, let me just go ahead and how I have these stored just so you can get a look at it, because I got everything laid out right now. So night vision is an investment, obviously. You don't want to spend all that money just to have your night vision get fucked up from storing it improperly. So me personally, I keep my night vision enclosed in these Faraday bags, and then I double bagged, one inside of this one that's a wire mesh bag, and then I put this bag inside of just a EMF rated kind of metal plastic kind of foil bag that I got on Amazon, and I do the same with my D-ball, and then I take those two bags and store them inside of an ammo can that's lined with cardboard. Maybe kind of wacky, but the way I feel, that way I know no static electricity or EMP or anything of that nature is hopefully not going to affect my night vision. Maybe it's overkill, but like I said, they're an expensive investment, so I'd rather protect them as best I can. When you store your night vision and your D-ball or whatever, make sure you do it with the battery out and try and keep it in a case. I don't have a padded case, so I keep it inside double bagged and in the ammo cans and put it on a shelf and just try to out of sight, out of mind, and be careful with the box. That way it doesn't get damaged at all. I don't have a lens cover, but if you do, it's a good idea to leave that on so you don't chance accidentally burning out your tubes at all. I leave my J-arm mounted on there all the time. It's tied down that way. The end of my tie down, I did a video on prepping your nods. I have it tied down to this little locking S-beaner that I can clip to my helmet or the inside of a pouch. So inside of the Faraday bag, I also store batteries. Keep in mind, batteries can leak, so you don't want the battery acid to leak and screw up your night vision. That's why I store them separately. But I also keep those inside of one of these bags. Same thing with the D-ball. Store it with the caps on, battery out, and separate from the battery. So basically, this is the IR device that I'm using on my rifle. It's a Steiner D-ball A3. I don't run pressure switches because I don't want to activate my night vision by accident, by laser or the flood. I prefer to deliberately press the button for momentary when I need to aim. Also, brush and whatnot tends to disconnect the wires, and I just don't like pressure switches. They break or they don't work well. Train with your weapon, learn where the button is, and you can activate the laser pretty easily. But it's important, especially when we're dealing with a near-peer threat, not to ND with your laser. The setup that I'm running mounting-wise, this is a hard-headed veteran's helmet just with their shroud, and I have the Wilcox G24 on here. It's easy, I like it, it's got a lot of adjustment, and everything locks into place. So I'm running the Wilcox G24 Rhino mount as well as the Wilcox J-arm, whatever the designation for this is. But it's nice because you can swivel and have a little bit more adjustment. However, if you are just getting into night vision and you don't want to spend the money on the Wilcox mounting systems, this is just a regular shitty base plate, standard issue base plate, and your standard issue J-arms. These are like 20 bucks online, and I don't have my issue Rhino arm here with me. It's actually in my locker at work, but you can use that. So if you upgrade any part of this system, I would recommend replacing this mount with like an similar to the one that's on the Ops Core. I think a company that begins with an N makes them, but they're flat. The issue with these, not all of your Rhino mounts will lock into these. So if you get a base plate and a Rhino mount, double check it, make sure they fit together and they lock in. For whatever reason, sometimes they don't have a perfect fit. One thing you need to avoid if you're using the standard issue J-arm, do not pull your night vision down by the goggle. If you're going to drop the monocular down over your eye, adjust it with the Rhino mount. And I would still do that with the Wilcox. Even though it's metal, it's not necessary. There's no need to put unnecessary strain onto your J-arm in different parts. You will break these. I don't know how many times in the military guys snap these in half. So if you're going to run this system, it's a good idea to get a couple extra J-arms, but just go ahead and don't adjust your night vision down by pulling on the goggle to close it, because you will snap J-arms. I've seen it happen quite a few times. So anyway, that's how I store my device. Let me go ahead and put this on the tripod, and I'll talk to you for a few minutes about adjustment, wearing, and different tips and tricks. Alright, so when it comes to selecting what kind of unit you want, there's basically two types. There's going to be monoculars and binos that are mainstream. Obviously, there's different things like PVS 7s. If that's something you're into, basically the PVS 7 is just one tube that covers both your eyes. It's kind of the device that was mainstream before this one, the 14. And I've used that one, not while moving. I used it for stationary purposes, like doing surveillance and stuff. And if you get a Gen 3, it does the job, it works fine. But if you're planning on doing a lot of movement and maneuvering, I would probably prefer to use the PVS 14 if it were me. The vast majority of my experience is with a 14, a monocular. One of my buddies has 31s, the binos, and I've messed around looking through them, but not really using them. So I can't really give you guys any real-time feedback on using anything besides a monocular. So just some kind of house cleaning stuff on how to set these up. Me personally, all right, so I'll give you a look at it mounted on the G24 there and on the helmet. So my helmet, I have a TNVC Mohawk, and basically in the back of this I have counterweights. You really don't need a counterweight for a 14, but it does help. You can also just use extra batteries or something like that in here, but the Mohawk comes with 4 counterweights. Right now I have 2 of them in, and it offsets pretty well. If you guys aren't going to use a counterweight, one thing I would recommend that I used to do with my issue helmets was replace a chin strap with an ops core chin strap. I like the X harness, but they have an H as well. Doesn't really matter. The main feature that makes it pretty usable with the night vision is the adjustable chin strap. You can really adjust the angle of the helmet to even out how your nods fit. But basically, to give you guys an idea, when you put your helmet on, get your chin strap adjusted so it's snug, fits nice. And like I said, when you're adjusting and you're dropping your night vision, utilize the Rhino mount to drop it down. Never drop it down by the monocular itself or the J-arm, because you can bust J-arms that way. So to give you guys an introduction on the 14, this up front adjusts your focus, as does this knob on the back. That also adjusts your focus. You can zoom in and out, and you can focus on different distances. This little knob right here adjusts your brightness, and that will also help with clarity. Generally, the darker it is out, the less natural illumination there is, the brighter you're going to need to turn up your monocular, and the brighter it is out, the dimmer you're going to have your optic set, similar to like an aim point or something like that. Obviously, this is the battery compartment. That's where the battery would go. And I'll give you guys a look. this is the power switch. If you twist it, you can activate the IR floodlight as well. So that's kind of the down and dirty of using the 14s. Generally, I adjust the both of these so I can see pretty clearly, like 15 yards ahead of me, and up, like my hand in front of my face is blurry, but the next guy in front of me in the stack is clear and I can see well. And that helps me with movement and everything like that. As far as devices are concerned, when I'm looking for monocular or binos for that matter, whatever, if I'm looking at a night vision device, one of the things I look for is that it's auto gated. Basically what that means, I'm not a night vision expert, I'm just somebody that uses it, but being auto gated is the most important feature to me. That way, if there's like headlights from a car or someone flicks a light on or whatever, the device automatically constricts that amount of light that's allowed into the optic so you don't burn it out. There's a few numbers when it comes to specs on night vision that are important. One is FOM. Generally, the higher the number, the higher the clarity or the spec is going to be on the particular goggle. This set right here is generation 3. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just reading the specs. This is a generation 3 green phosphor monocular, just like the issue ones when I was in. Today, there's white, there's digital, and they're also coming up with color night vision now. They're all different specs. Generally, for a green monocular, the FOM is going to be a little lower on the scale. I think they're typically from like 12 to 1800, which is a pretty wide spectrum, so don't quote me on it. I just can't remember the number off the top of my head. But the important thing to know is if you're in the green sphere, you generally want to stay around like 12 to 1800 FOM, I believe. Again, I'm not a night vision expert, but yeah. Then for the white phosphor stuff, depending on the tube, the higher the FOM, the higher the resolution. So like the L3 Harris tubes, I think are like 2400, they're above 2400, I think. They might even be higher than that. But there's kind of all different spectrum of tube types. Me personally, I just have green. It works good enough. That's what I used for years. That's what I'm used to, and that's what I had the money for. Now, if you're trying to decide between green and white, I can tell you if you have the money for a white phosphor tube, definitely spend it. The clarity is better, the eye fatigue is far less, and they're just easier to use if you're new to night vision. Like, for example, a buddy of mine and I just went out. He's got the L3 filmless white phosphor PBS 14, and he's got no night vision experience whatsoever. And we were doing some training in the woods, and I haven't used nods in 2 years, but keep in mind I also have hundreds of hours on nods, and I was tripping and stumbling like a fucking moron, and he was walking perfectly fine. So to me, that's kind of the difference between a lower resolution optic and a higher resolution optic. You can definitely train through it. You'll be fine using green. If that's all you have the money for, a Gen 3 green tube is better than no night vision. But if you have the money for white phosphor, it is definitely worth it. I've messed around with some 14s, and like I said, I've used my buddy's 31s, and it is definitely easier. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. However, the Gen 3 green is perfectly adequate. If that's what you got money for, and you have the time and the willingness to train, you can definitely do it. As far as Gen 2 Plus and Gen 2, Gen 1, all that stuff is concerned, I don't have any experience with it. All I've used is the Gen 3. The vast majority of my time is on the Gen 3 green phosphor PBS 14. Some units from Harris, some from Armacite, some from TNVC, which I think are Harris But yeah, that's the vast majority of my night vision experiences with the green 14s. So anyway, that's what I got. That's what I'm comfortably using, and that's what works for me. If that's all you can afford, you're in good shape. Get out there and train. As far as things to train with night vision go, guys, you should be doing all the same stuff you're doing dry fire at your house. Normally not under nods, during the daytime under nods. So zero your lasers. That's huge. You can't hit anything with an IR laser if it's not zeroed. You can do that by bore sighting at night. If you can't actually get out there and shoot at your range, you can always bore sight it in your basement on a diminished silhouette. Then reloads, practice reloading, practice manipulating your kit, practice doing malfunction drills, practice getting your gear on and off, tying your shoes, doing all dumb stuff you don't think about, opening your pack, finding stuff in your pack. Everything is harder at nighttime, and everything is harder at nighttime with nods on. One thing to know is your depth perception is going to be off pretty significantly, especially focus-wise. So that's something to keep in mind as far as training through. A huge chunk of night vision training, you should devote your time to just going for walks at night in different surfaces, through the woods, through a few, start crawl, walk, run. Start out small, start out in a field, start out in somewhere open where it's easy to see, it's hard to trip, and you can just work on walking. Just start by walking, move up to jogging, get down in different positions, try different things, look around, look at what your buddies look like, look at what other people moving look like, look at cars, look at buildings, look at what the world around you looks like under nods, and get accustomed to it. Training with night vision, once you have it, can be free. I mean, it's as simple as going out and going for a walk and just doing different things. That's far more important than shooting under nods is going to be. Don't get me wrong, shooting under nods is definitely a good thing to train if you have the facilities and the ability to train it. If you don't, dry fire at home. Keep in mind, there's different ways to aim with night vision. I can get into that in another video, but more or less just get comfortable with your goggles. Go out there, beat the brush, and put some time in, and you'll really get a handle for it. There's no shortcut to night vision. It's just a matter of getting out there and training with it. You're going to trip, you're going to fall. When you're walking, pick your feet up. I kind of walk like heel toe and pick my feet up when I'm moving. That's a good thing to do. Tie all your shit down, whether it's have your goggles tied down. Mine's on a carabiner, so I can just hook it and unhook it from my helmet. Make sure it's on a solid mounting point that's not going to come loose. That way, if the mount gets tugged free or something gets tugged off, Murphy's Law. That's just one more safe thing that'll catch it. On top of that, I also keep my canteens tied down, my knife tied down in my pocket. Things that you don't want to lose, tie it down. Especially at nighttime, shit has a tendency of getting ripped out of your pockets or getting ripped out of your ruck or whatever, so it doesn't hurt to tie shit down. And under nods, if you can find the tie down, you can yank on it and it'll come out and you can catch the item that you need and you can do it. But best advice I can give you guys is practice. It's going to be an ass pain. But one thing about setting up your nods in your helmet, I always run mine over my weak side eye. I'm right eye dominant. I've always done it this way, and I run my nod over my left eye, and my right eye is free. The reason I do this is so I can still use my aim point through my dominant eye. I can still see my dot at nighttime and shoot with it. And that way, if I'm going into a house or if I'm in the woods or something and someone shoots an illumination flare or a headlight comes up or someone flicks a light on in a room, I can close my eye that's under the optic and still have natural night vision through this eye, or I can see normally, so I can see my sights, or I can see what's going on in the room. That was the rationale that they gave for having us set it up that way. I've always done it that way now, after training like it, and I'm used to it. There's nothing wrong with putting it over your dominant eye. Some people do that. If you have a night vision compatible optic, I can see the argument for that. I guess some people shoot through optics passively with their night vision and see the dot through it. I've never shot that way. When I've shot at night, it's either been with an IR laser, or I've just used my normal eye looking through a red dot, or used a flashlight and could see my iron sights or my front sight post or my optics. So, not to say it's not better, I just don't have experience doing it that way. The reason I run it over my left eye is, like I just said. Yeah, I'll do another video in the future out there actually using night vision, walking, and going over some tips and tricks about how to patrol with nods on, how to do different things with nods on, how to shoot with nods on. But basically, just a quick down and dirty. Wanted to give you guys a few tips about looking for night vision, setting it up, whatever. Some places you can find night vision from reputable dealers. Basically, TNVC is awesome. TNVC is probably one of the premier night vision companies in the business right now, because they have a long warranty and they're good builders. They build everything to spec. Their devices are pretty good from what I understand. I've used a few of their devices. My buddy has a couple, and they're pretty well built. And from what I gather, their customer service is pretty good. So I would start with TNVC. However, you're going to pay for TNVC too, so keep that in mind. Goonin Gear is another pretty good website. I bought my D-ball from them, and their customer service was pretty cool. They know a lot about night vision. They'll answer all your questions. Honestly, guys, I don't know that much about night vision other than I've used it a lot, but there's guys that know a lot more than me as far as like different tubes and different specs and different things to look for. So if you are looking for more information of that variety, I would probably reach out to guys at Goonin Gear, guys at TNVC. Go to guys that know night vision. US Night Vision is another company that carries a lot of different night vision gear, as well as, I believe, Night Vision Guys is a popular company. Never bought anything from them, never bought anything from US Night Vision either. I just know reputable instructors that have bought from both of those places. Personally, I'd probably deal with TNVC and Goonin Gear as my first two choices, but no, there are other options. And there's plenty of other sites out there. I got mine from secondhand from a buddy. The downside of getting a device that way, obviously, is there's no warranty. So it's better to buy from a company that's a reputable manufacturer. So, yeah. Armacite or AGM Global, Harris, they make a lot of the 14s that you're going to find, at least the bodies and everything. There's different styles of 14s. Some take 2 AA batteries. This particular set takes 1. I prefer the ones that take 1. However, in the military we had both. They were both fine. As far as buying blem NVGs go, it's not a big deal. If you save money and it's from a reputable manufacturer and they have a blem spot on them, you can't even fucking tell. If you're really worried about it and it's just a small blem or something, and like in the pictures it's a little black dot in there, you can't even tell. So if you're concerned about saving $600 for a blem, to me it's worth it. Some guys it's not. Hey, your prerogative. Night vision's one of those things you get what you pay for. And it's also one of those things you don't realize how much you use it and how much you need it until you don't have it. I really, really wanted an optic after years and years in the military using them, where I never used a white light ever, and it was fucking awesome, the capabilities you got from being able to just creep around with night vision goggles and see all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you go to the police world and you're looking for a suspect with a gun or something that took off in the woods, and you feel like a moron walking around with a flashlight, shining it around, spotlighting yourself, and you can only see like 20 feet in front of you. So I never really appreciated having night vision until all of a sudden I was in a career field where I was in the woods at night a lot and didn't have it, and then I went out and bought some myself. So I've kind of rambled on for like a long period of time right now, and feel like I just scratched the surface on all this stuff. But if you have any questions, reach out to me. Like I said, I'll try and do a follow-up video that's more physical tips and tricks and me actually using the night vision. But basically, I'm in my basement. I had a little bit of time. Somebody asked. So hopefully that can at least get you started looking at night vision. And yeah, I'll give you some more tips and tricks on how to run them better in an upcoming video. So take it easy.